Today on First Cup, you guys left a bunch of stuff in the Facebook group, so I've got more than plenty to talk about. And of course, we still have jokes because some of you dropped some and Frank dropped some. Stick around. We're rolling in 15. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Friday. It is December 10th, 2021. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning to all of you, whether you're watching live, later, or even listening. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming around. I've been doing some reflection on my first cup of coffee now, with friends versus before first cup. And before first cup, I'd stagger out of bed and make my coffee, and I'd sit on the couch, maybe with my phone, or just go. This is a lot more fun. I don't know if that's what you guys are doing on your end, but hopefully this is more fun than not. I suppose it is, because if it wasn't, probably wouldn't do it. Good morning also to Dennis. Good morning, Mark. It's like boys club this morning. That's okay. So what happened yesterday? We released that great How to Fight Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon episode, which has received very good feedback, but very low numbers, like low numbers. Very weird to me. I'm not quite sure why. As of right now, of the 5, 6 How to Fights we've done, it was the worst performer on day one. Would have put a whole bunch of money that it would be the opposite. I don't know what happened. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Andy. It's still a bunch of guys. We got like 8 guys in the chat. Where are the ladies at? Ooh, that sounds weird. I'm never going to say that again. I feel rested. When I'm rested and relaxed, I'm silly. It's one of the things. So, as you might imagine, I'm busy. When I'm busy, I get stressed. But there are times when, maybe on a weekend or I take a few days off, right? I'm really rested up and I'm relaxed and I'm not concerned about things. And I'm me, like I'm the real me. And I get silly. Very few people see that side of me. Women I've dated have seen that side of me. We date for a few months and maybe go away for a weekend or something. And they're like, wait a second, who are you? You're being ridiculous. And, there. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Stacy. Kelly says, no, better not say that again. I will not. I definitely will not say that again. And they said, where is the side of you coming from? This is the real me. I'm a ridiculous individual. I do things because people say they shouldn't be done. I enjoy making other people laugh. But that's not the productive side of me. So I can't lead with that. That has to come into play when there's time. When there isn't usually time. Stacy says, happy Fri-YAYYYYYYY all, and happy Fri-YAYYYYYYY to you. I like this phrase, Fri-YAYYYYYY. And I'm going to guess Frank didn't invent it, but I heard it from him first. So thank you to Frank. And I think it's a good way to look at the week and the show. Even if you work a conventional Monday through Friday job, or you don't, it doesn't matter. There's something different about Fridays. because most people will have a couple days of work off. Most people treat the world a little differently on a Friday. And I think we all reap that benefit. Even when I worked retail, I liked Fridays more than I liked other days. It's kind of like when I wake up and there's a bunch of snow, at least up until March, I don't mind. Even if it means I have to get the snowblower out, even if it means that there's more work for me, I don't mind. Because it reminds me of being a kid and waking up and go, snow day, right? Like there's something different in the air. Dennis says, you are a ridiculously awesome human being. Well, thank you. Thank you, my friend. So are you. Takes one to know one. We'll just do the entire show in like childhood language. I'm rubber, you're glue. Oh, coffee came up perfect this morning. What else happened yesterday? Went to the gym, went to the range, had some of my best shooting yet. Probably my best shooting yet. We'll see. They're getting to know me there, which is nice. They're getting to know me by name. So in that happening, I expect opportunities to come, right? If the world is founded in relationships, professional relationships, who do I find it easier to do business with? People I know. Those relationships are important. And if I start establishing friendships with the people who work at the gun range, who knows what that means? Maybe I'll get the opportunity to take lessons with, I don't know, other people. Good morning, Jenny. Had 1-2 more signups for All In Weekend yesterday. Like this is going pretty well. The logo is getting designed right now. Once the logo is designed, we've got a few things happening. One thing that Andrew and I talked about on Tuesday that is coming into play, if somebody is buying All In Weekend as a gift for someone else, we will get you a certificate that you can gift. Depending on the timing of when this all happens, it might be a file you have to print out, but the goal would actually be that if you're doing it for someone else, we would send you a piece of paper. So if that's something you want to do, or if it's something you've already done, if one of you has purchased for someone else and you want to make a present out of it, because while $200 is not a lot of money for this event, $200 is a lot of money and warrants recognition as a gift beyond, hey, we did this, right? Like it's nice to give something, especially since it's 5 months away. Let me know and we'll get you that certificate. So far, we've got 2 people we got to do that for. More coffee in the cup. We're going to dilute out the cream. What else happened yesterday? Oh, I had acupuncture. It was great. It was a pretty good day. Ran a fire in the stove all day. Today I'll be heading up to the co-working space. This is my last month as like with a subscription to the co-working space for a couple reasons. One, I've been getting busier and I've been finding it harder to get there. Doesn't mean I can't go. It just means that when I go, I pay each time, right? It's a little bit more per time, but it's still going to work out less money for me. And the city of Burlington passed another mask mandate. Actually, Montpelier did as well. I don't want to wear a mask. If I stay here, I don't have to wear a mask. I'm not arguing against the mask. I'm not suggesting anything beyond this one statement that I will make. People are different when they wear masks. People are less friendly. They are less engaging with each other. There's less humanity happening. And I did that for a few months when I was going up there the first time. And it was really hard to meet people. As soon as those masks came off, everybody was ready to talk and chat. And, again, I'm not passing a judgment on it. It's just what I'm going to do. There have been times prior where, I've only got like 3 hours, but I got to do this other thing on the road. Yeah, I'll pop in. That's not going to happen anymore. One, because it would cost me $20 to do that. If I'm there for 4 hours, it's $30. It's not cheap, but it's a nice facility. And they give me all the coffee I want. Good morning, Nathan. Daniel says, I like my mask. I can walk around mouthing, go away, in less polite language at everyone. Oh, I wonder what 2-word phrase you might be saying. I think I know you well enough to have a pretty good idea what that phrase is. Now, I'm going to start digging in because a bunch of you left stuff in the Facebook group, and that makes me really happy. And just a reminder, if you want to leave questions or comments, facebook.com/firstcupwithjeremy. If you do not do Facebook, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. All right, let's start here. All right, from Daniel, I'm on day 10 of drinking a large glass of water on a morning, thanks to this amazing new book I brought. I wonder what book he's referencing. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what book would tell you to do that. My partner is a long-distance runner and starts her day with a large glass with an added rehydration tablet. Is there any advantage to this over just plain water? There are a bunch of products like this that are electrolytes. And what are electrolytes? They're minerals: sodium, potassium, magnesium, and there's a fourth one, I think. Isn't there a fourth one? Hey, Google, what are the 4 electrolytes?
On the website medicalnewstoday.com, they say, fast facts on electrolytes. Common electrolytes include sodium, potassium, calcium, and bicarbonate. People also ask me,
okay,
what are the main types of electrolytes? Want to hear the answer?
No. All right, calcium.
On the website medlineplus.gov,
I said stop.
Sodium, calcium,
Stop.
potassium, chloride, phosphate, and magnesium are all electrolytes. You get them from the foods you eat and the fluids you drink. People also sometimes ask me, what is role of calcium?
Hey, Google, cancel. It's been getting a little more wordy lately. It used to be better. Oh, Frank's reminding me. What about the jokes? Okay. I'm gonna put a hard pause on this one, and we're gonna go back. Thank you. Okay, and I was gonna go in order. See, I'm off. I'm all over the place today. All right, we'll start with Frank's jokes, and Dennis also drops them. Chuck Norris can divide by 0. Fun fact: I have a mathematical proof of how 0 and dividing and multiplying by 0, and how it actually exists. Turns all numbers into the same thing. Could potentially be used as proof of quantum state. And when I first sketched that out in high school, my math teacher walked by because I was doing that instead of something I was supposed to be doing. And she said, "You're not supposed to know that yet." Chuck Norris doesn't climb trees. He just pulls them down and walks on top of them. Chuck Norris can kill 2 stones with 1 bird. That's one of my favorite ones. Outer space exists because it's afraid to be on the same planet with Chuck Norris. Newton's 3rd law is wrong. Although it states that for each action there is an equal and opposite reaction, there is no force equal in reaction to a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick. Chuck Norris can slam a revolving door. There is no theory of evolution, just a list of creatures Chuck Norris has allowed to live. Chuck Norris doesn't actually write books. The words assemble themselves out of fear. Chuck Norris sleeps with a nightlight, not because Chuck Norris is afraid of the dark, but the dark is afraid of Chuck Norris. Those are great. Oh. Kelly says, when you ask Gio a question, I immediately think of Iron Man. I wish it was as good as Jarvis. I really do. You know what bums me out? Here, I'll show you, and then I'll do more jokes. So I use Spotify. Spotify's linked up. I've got like 6 of these smart speakers scattered around the house, and when I play music on them, it sounds really nice. It's in every room. It's kind of cool. With Spotify linked, I can say play music by such and such or this person. Spotify has what they call their daily mix playlists, and there's like 6 of them that are just automatically generated each day based on what they think you're going to like the most. Daily mix 1 is almost entirely songs that you've played recently. Daily mix like 6 is who knows where they're getting those. I used to be able to say, hey, play daily mix 1, and it would, except that somebody else made a playlist called daily mix 1, and it's full of a bunch of stupid songs, and I don't like any of them. And the smart speakers go to that playlist versus the auto-generated one. I've tried it for like several days in a row, and it doesn't make me happy. Take care, Andy. And he says, have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend off. Be well. Jenny says, holy crap, I want to see that proof. I can, next time we have a call or something, we can do a Zoom and I can sketch it out. It doesn't take long. It requires using logic, which not everyone is comfortable with. All right. Frank, those were amazing jokes. Thank you. Dennis gave us a couple jokes. The other day, my friend said, what rhymes with orange? I said, no, it doesn't. Parallel lines have so much in common. It's too bad they'll never meet. What do you call a cow that can't fly? Ground beef. Those are good. All right. Moving back to Dato's question about electrolytes and hydration. Water is good. Water on its own is good. You remember back in like the 60s and 70s, and when I was starting to do athletics in the late 80s, I heard discussion of this, salt tablets. And then we got to the 80s and, oh my God, salt is going to kill you. Salt causes heart disease. Salt is bad. Salt, salt, salt. So we pulled salt out of everything except for processed food. Guess what? Salt's not bad for you. Stupid amounts of salt are, but you know what's more bad for you? It's the processed food. It's the ingredients. It's the terrible fats that are in there. We found the right source. It was all that processed food that people started eating as food manufacturing became a thing. But we pointed to the wrong aspect of it. It was the crummy ingredients. It actually wasn't the salt. Remember, salt is something that is so important, so necessary to our life, our health, that literal wars have been fought over salt. Nobody's fighting wars over butter or coconut oil. Nobody's fighting wars over, I don't know, something else. People have fought wars over water, and they will again, sadly, salt, pepper, other spices, right? Because these things are actually really important to us. Salt is necessary. If you don't have enough salt, you will die. If you sweat, you ever taste the sweat coming off your lip? It's salty. That has to come back in. And for a lot of people who eat a healthy diet without a lot of processed food, it is very difficult to get enough salt. In fact, I have heard some people say, some experts, I'm not a doctor, don't listen to me, say that unless you are someone who eats a reasonable amount of processed food, it is almost impossible to have too much salt. Here's an experiment you can try if you don't believe me. Make sure you're at home when you do it. Throw a teaspoon of salt into a glass, swish it around with water, and then chug it and tell me what happens. Body has an evacuation system. You might not like it, but it'll get rid of the excess. Good morning, Craig. Tommy says the term salary came from salt as a payment. Salt was how we preserved meat. It's been incredibly useful for a long time. So the root of Daniel's question, is there value in that? Yes. I don't, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? The thing to watch out for is sugar and artificial stuff going in while you're doing that. Your body operates better when mineral levels are dialed in. Here's a good question. And not that I'm recommending Gatorade because it's terrible for you because all the sugar and artificial crap. But there are electrolytes in Gatorade. How tasty is Gatorade when you're thirsty versus not? It's dramatically different, isn't it? Your body even says, hey, the stuff that is in this is so important to me right now. I want it. That's the test that I use. I have an electrolyte powder that I mix up myself. I mix it up with salt, potassium, and magnesium. And it's based on the ratios from a commercial product called Element, LMNT. And I think the website's like drinklmnt.com. I'm not endorsing it. I make no money if you buy it. I purchased a 30-pack because I wanted to try it. It tastes really good. There are some natural flavors, which remember are still artificial. They're still made in the lab. It's weird that they get to call them that. But my suggestion is try it, especially when you're thirsty. If it tastes significantly better when you're thirsty versus when you're not thirsty, to me, that is the body saying, hey, I need some of this stuff. So you might try it. Daniel says, I'll post the video on the whistlekick page over the weekend. And Jenny says, I'll be avoiding the whistlekick page over the weekend. You guys are too funny. All right. Daniel, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, ask me a follow-up for Monday with more detail. Jokes. All right. From Josh. Thanks, Josh. What do you think encourages people to be open-minded when it comes to martial arts, especially those with traditional lineage? Do folks think it's individual personality, something an instructor does, the style, etc.? I'm going to contrast that with something you and I may have talked about in the past, Jeremy. Traditional martial arts weapons were just things lying around that get pressed into use. So how would folks defend themselves if all they had was a plastic ruler, a metal ruler with sharp edges, a ceramic coffee cup with hot coffee in it, a ceramic coffee cup that is empty? I could list more, but we'll save that for another day. So there's a lot there. I think the open-mindedness comes from your first instructor and how they present martial arts to you. There's something I've noticed. Your first school style instructor, more often than not, sets the tone for how you view martial arts, especially if you start training as a kid. Your physical movements, your proprioception, and which is understanding how the body moves. I'm trying to do this, my body does that, right? Is deeply rooted in what you do the first few years of martial arts. For example, I did karate from the time I was 4 to 18 at a particular school. Doesn't matter what else I do. It looks like karate. Now, I work hard when the context requires it to make my movements look like something else. If I'm doing wushu with someone, or shout out to Christine Bannon Rodriguez, who is the only person that's trained me in wushu, and for like 45 minutes at a seminar, but she was just promoted to 10th dan. So yay. And she was on the show very early on, very kind person. I think highly of her. But when I was doing wushu with her, I'm trying to make my movements look like wushu, even though they did not look very good. I just started. So where does the open-mindedness come from? I think it's the same source. If you come to me and I'm teaching you your first martial art, I'm going to be blending things, and we're going to talk about cross-training, and I'm going to bring in guest instructors, right? Like, you're going to see, okay, this is how it is. But if you go to somebody else who maybe is a little more rigid, a little more narrow in their presentation of martial arts, you might think that because you've chosen that thing, that's the only thing you can do or should do. Or if we're really throwing it back, this is the best style, every other style is crap. Right? Now, the questions about plastic ruler, metal ruler with sharp edges, coffee cup, empty coffee cup. I would like those of you in the chat and those of you watching or listening later, let's make that a mental exercise. For all of those situations, I'm thinking of my limited time doing Filipino martial arts, Eskrima work that I've done. That's, if you know anything about those styles, that's kind of where my head's going in using them. So I'm going to move on. Carl says, just had an amazing black belt test with my family. We had pasta the night before and egg sandwiches in the morning. Halfway through the test, my son's blood sugar dropped and he went pale. My question is, what are good night before meals and good breakfast options before a serious training workout or belt test? All right, so we're talking about, in a really intense situation, the lack of glycogen. Most of us are adapted to use glycogen as our primary fuel source. Essentially, sugar, glycogen, glucose, right? Like they're pretty close in the body, but there's a fixed amount of glycogen that we can have. This is why endurance athletes drink things or take those gels, because they're trying to get enough, essentially, sugar into their body. Now, why sugar? Sugar is pretty fast to process. You know, kids having a sugar high. The high is just the fact that the kids have enough energy to be kids. So that's where that loop comes in. Now, I've watched this too. If someone does not have enough glycogen to get through a long test, which they're probably not going to, they get woozy and fatigued on a hot day where I'm working hard and my body's working hard to maintain my internal body temperature. I've petered out in training and testing in 45 minutes. And how do I know that I'm petering out? My brain's not processing information the same way. It's something that I talk to Terry about when we do kickboxing. I'm like, I'm fading, dude. Like, I can keep moving, but I'm not thinking well. And I just need you to know that. You know, we're friends. He hears that. So what do you do about that? The body has a maximum amount of glycogen. You can't stuff more in. There is some logic in having a carbohydrates the day before, maybe even the morning before, making sure those glycogen stores are full, but you can go too far with it. And the other thing to remember is that carbohydrates require a lot of water to digest. It's like 4 to 1. For every gram of carbohydrate, it's 4 grams of water. The other thing you can do is you can dial back the carbs and spend more time with fat. This is the whole, if you dig deep into keto, and I don't mean what people think is keto, but actual keto, like medical keto, where your body processes food differently. This is why a lot of endurance athletes have shifted to one of two directions. Either they go into and remain in ketosis even during their event, or they train in ketosis and then on the day of the event, they will switch to using things like those gels or whatever, because the body uses them so much more efficiently. So the suggestion, the question really is, what do we do for people, especially the kid, who didn't have enough juice to get through the training, the testing? I would be avoiding junk food, trying to eat healthy things, especially leading up to it. And then the other part of it is, was that testing particularly intense versus typical training? And if the answer is yes, then there's a body conditioning element. Look at it this way. If I go run 5 miles, which would be a disaster if I just started doing 5 miles, but let's say I did and I made it, and I'm half dead when I come back. If I go do that again in a few days, it's not going to be as bad. Now, what changed? The distance didn't change. My body didn't really change. What changes is my body's response to that stimulus. I become more efficient as I'm running. I'm literally burning fewer calories to run. This is why you see runners, endurance athletes who stop doing their sport gain a lot of weight very quickly, because their metabolism is so low, because their body is really efficient at, the heart, etc., and just kind of moving around. So my guess is that that's actually more the way to go. It's less about the food in this case, more about metabolic conditioning. This is the root of what I considered when we put out the fuel program. And if you check out at whistlekick.com, by the way, whistlekickprograms.com is no more. We folded it back in. There was an experiment with that. Didn't work. The training program Fuel is based around building this conditioning in a sustainable way. So something that you might want to check out. And I'm jumping back in here because I knew there would be a bunch of questions. All right. Daniel says, those gels are insane. I've used them for running long distance. They work amazingly well for a mile. Yep. The really long distance guys, think 100-mile runners, all run under keto. They run slow enough to be able to burn fat for fuel. Faster runs tend to need carbs as the body can't process fat quickly enough for the energy required. The shift in keto in that space, that's new. That's only been in the last few years. Up until people seeing other athletes switching over into ketosis and dominating, because they didn't have to stop as much. They didn't, think about it. If you heard me say it, if carbs require more water to process, that means they not only have to have more fuel to carry, they have to take more water breaks. And assuming they're doing it right, they have to evacuate that water more frequently. Okay. So being in ketosis is a little more efficient for them. Daniel says, I spend too much time learning about distance running. You cannot spend too much time learning, my friend. All right. And Carl's second question, I'm only going to get surface on this. Andrew, if you're watching this episode, this I think might be a good episode for us. Why do upper rank black belts try to change techniques right before a big test instead of just encouraging the student? Do you agree or disagree? I think the student wouldn't be able to use new information, but this occurs constantly. I have a rule. If I'm coaching someone for competition, I don't make changes 2 weeks out, because it's dumb. Because I would rather see them do it slightly differently with confidence than put into their head that there's one more thing that they have to fix. Testing is a little bit different. If what is being changed is a requirement, then that should be changed whenever it can be changed. But this is also why I am not in favor of testing occurring on a calendar schedule. Testing, in my mind, should occur when the students are ready. If you have to make a change that is big enough that the student would not pass without changing it, they should not be invited to test. That's my philosophy. There are plenty of other philosophies. Now, the difference is, if you are going to have a calendar setup of testing, we test every 6 months or whatever, and you are loosey-goosey with inviting people to test, inviting people that at the point that they are invited may not have all of the elements they need, then there needs to be a culture in that school where failure is okay. Where not passing that test is okay. I rarely see that line up, though. Sometimes higher ranks are correcting students in that case because they're trying to reinforce the delta between where that student is and where they are. Sometimes there's an ego thing there, right? But not always. If it's the instructor, a lot of times they forget what it's like a couple days out from testing. They haven't tested in a long time. They forget what it's like being nervous. Or I've known some people, I'm one of these. I don't get nervous at testing. I like testing. I go into testing the way I go into any competition. I put on a show. You're there to watch me. I'm going to give you something to look at. Okay. But I know not everyone's built that way. It is frustrating. And I think that if I was running let's say I was in charge of a school, but I didn't get to set how these parameters were set out, I would say, okay, if testing is occurring on this schedule, then we might have like a pre-test. This happens in the Superfoot organization. I'm testing at the end of January, 2 weeks ahead on a Saturday. I have to go through a pre-test. It's not optional, where it's over Zoom, and we're going to go through all the material. And if there is something that I am not doing well with, I've got 2 weeks to fix it. And I know what I'm missing. If I'm not corrected on it, then I can assume that I'm doing it well enough. But I've got plenty of opportunity to practice that stuff up till those 2 weeks. And I kind of like that. I think that makes sense. Whew, that was a lot. Jenny says, if I knew there was a pizza waiting for me, I might run more. Okay. Oh, that's in response to Daniel saying that I once saw a talk by Dean Karnassus. He once ordered a pizza to be delivered on his run. Oh, that's fun. I like that. Stacy says, I get so nervous at testing, the last one particularly. Well, because it was long overdue and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Daniel says, I hate testing. I spent 9 months putting off my yellow belt test. Stacy, I get so crazy stressed and sick during it, not because of my instructor, all in my head. Yep. And that's most people. Most people, it's similar to the public speaking thing, right? Most people hate public speaking. Testing is physical public speaking. It's public presentation. What do you think my thoughts are on public speaking? I'm here talking to all of you. My public speaking's gotten a lot better because of this, because of developing this skill. I'm watching the plow go by. For those of you in places that don't have snow, why do we watch the plow go by? Because it gives us an idea of how much snow is on the road very quickly, or road conditions in general, based on what we see coming off the side of the plow and how fast they're going. And that tells us how much extra time we should leave before we go to the car to drive somewhere. Yeah. All right. And apparently, Daniel's reminding me, we discussed it by email at the time. You talked me into taking it. That sounds like a thing I would do. And we'll end off here with Dennis's comment. Testing can be stressful. I would say the mental aspects of testing is even more challenging than the physical. You wouldn't be testing if your instructor thought you weren't ready, but we allowed doubt to me to creep in. It's all about being human. Oh, and Jenny's got a good one too. I'll end on this one. I love learning, and I look at testing as a hurdle to get to more knowledge. Ooh, I like that. This makes me incredibly excited to test, but also very nervous. I want that new knowledge so badly that I get myself worked up about the test. There you go. All right. Good stuff today, you guys. Now, I'm announcing something new, something I've been working on. This was an idea Andrew and I came up with, and we hammered on it for a while. If you listen to martial arts radio, you know that there is a long list of things that we ask you to potentially do, things that would help the show. Here on First Cup, I ask you, hey, join the Patreon, or maybe buy something at whistlekick.com. Sometimes I add a third thing. That list is so long that I said, what if we just made a webpage that we send people to? whistlekick.com/family. If you go to whistlekick.com/family, there is no link to it. You have to type it in. Will be, at least for now, the place where we list out all the things you can do. That very long list about reviews, instead of saying, go leave a Google review, I give you images on how to leave a Google review. Leave a review on Facebook. I do the same thing there. It's got links. It's got the discount codes. Everything is there. So if you are up for supporting us, whistlekick.com/family. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you leave me stuff to talk about for Monday. But regardless, enjoy the next roughly 72 hours. I will see you soon. I appreciate all of you. Take care. Peace.